it's Colette from the Speech Meadow, and I'm going to talk today about the importance of customizing and personalizing Artic cards. So now I'm not saying that everyone needs their own specific Artic cards. I'm talking about every set of cards that you'll ever get. None of them are perfect. Let's be honest. There's always ones you're like, ugh, that word? Okay. That goes for super duper cards. That goes for word lists from linguistics or linguist systems. That goes from even stuff you find on TPT, even my stuff, even my cards I have on my store. None of them are perfect. So, but I just wanted to talk about things like, and using those cards to put in other words that may be more functional in your region. So for example, koala bears. We don't see a lot of koala bears. I mean, koala bears are great. I love koala bears. But the kids don't talk a lot about the koala bears at school here. And so doing things like making it a more appropriate word. So elk in this neck of the woods is super common words to be using. So we see elk on the roads, we see elk on the highways. Lots of people hunt elk. So you'll hear kids talk about elk more often. And so doing things like taking this card and changing it into an elk card is super important, is super functional. So how do you do this? I do this in a couple of ways. So one, quick and easy, super dirty, is I'll literally just take a Post-it note and I'll write the word on top. We'll see if we can do this. So there, it's backwards for you guys. And then I just take it off and I'll just stick it on the card. And so then if I get, sometimes I'll get elaborate and I'll like draw a little elk, or my very sad attempt at drawing a little elk on there, but yeah. And so this is one way of doing it that's fast and easy. And this is now been changed from a koala bear, which is not super functional here, to an elk, which is super functional. Or things like I'll change words to toque, or and then a region around here is the Okanagan, and so that might be a word that I use in a K-deck as opposed to that. And so I'll change those to super functional words. The other thing I'll do, instead of taking out words like snake, so say I've got a kid that can't say their S blends and we're working on final K. In this instant, I'll change this to, maybe I'll change it to toque, because that would be more functional, more trickier to say because you've got front sounds and back sounds, but that will be a more, it may be a more functional word, although we get lots of snakes around here. But B, I'd rather him try a word that he can say, as opposed to sort of continuing to emphasize the nake or the sake that he or she may be saying. So I do that. I talked about using Post-it notes. I also, if I'm doing something that's a bit more permanent, so things like, I tend to do this with cards that have got like places in the States, or like cities or states in the US, because most of those words we're not gonna say. And so what I'll do is I will either take a piece of paper, or I still take my Post-it note, and then I just use glue dots. And these ones here are removable so that I can take it off when we're done using those words. So yeah, so I'll do that, cut around it just to make it look a little bit more like a card, make it, because it is a bit more permanent, make it so it's not so interfere. So if we're playing a game, if they see this, they're gonna know that this is probably elk. But if they just see this part of it and I've cut around this, they're not necessarily gonna know. So it's not gonna really ruin any games or any activities that you're doing. So that's kind of what I'll do. The other thing that I'll do that is permanent that I actually don't really recommend. A, because it's super expensive. B, you're not going to be able to tear it off very well. And C, you're not going to be able to clean it. So I actually do clean my cards for once in a while, particularly if the plague happens to be going through the school at that time. So like now we seem to be having lots of kids out with flus and colds. So like now is a really good time, and they'll probably get cleaned this week. But you can use sticker paper. And so what I'll do is I'll cut around the sticker paper. Cut around the sticker paper and stick it right on. I very, 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 very rarely do this. But what I tend to do is then find a clip art picture that matches that word and glue it on. And so it does make its own. So it'll look a little bit more like this. But like I said, this is very expensive. It's kind of time consuming. And if it gets wet, you know, if you want to wash, like clean it, you can't really do that. Whereas this stuff is laminated, so you can. And if I need to wash and clean, doing stuff like this and using removable glue dots comes off really easily. So so that's kind of what I do to personalize decks. Do I personalize it to everybody? No, but if I happen to know that a kiddo is really struggling with one word, oh, he never gets it. Spaghetti. I tend to quickly mark over those types of words. So in those cases like this. But if it's something that I know we're hardly ever going to talk about, like Arizona, lots of R words, you'll see word names of places pop up, then I'll actually take the glue dots like I have here and sort of semi-permanently change that card. So that's it. So let me know if you guys modify your decks, and if you, what kinds of words do you like to use? I typically use a lot of Canadianisms type things, so or Canadian geography, so you'll see me, I do use toque a lot, especially in the winter. You know, I'll use words in the local region. I happen to live in an area where there's lots of wildlife, so we will talk about, you know, rams, and we do talk about elk and moose and deer and all those types of words that are sometimes in decks and sometimes not in decks. All right, so that's me, and I'll catch you later. Bye.